What's up, average dad fans? Welcome back to another video. You've seen the first impressions of the Vivo X100 Ultra. Now, does the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra say Vivo? Hold my beer. Let's go. Let's talk about the good points. The design. I think this green, while I'm not a massive fan of green, is stunning on the Pura 70. I also think the brown and the other colours look stunning. Now, don't get me wrong, that purpley pink thing in the normal Pura 70 isn't great, but for the Ultras, I like them all. It's a glass front protected by Huawei's own armour amazingness. Longling glass, is that what they're calling it? Longjing? You can let me know in the comments. Ultimately, it's going to be plenty strong enough and scratch resistant enough, but ultimately it's still glass. However, Huawei do include a screen protector, which no, is not uncommon, but weirdly, this might be the best pre-installed screen protector I've ever used, purely because you never notice it. With screen protectors, what you do is when you're swiping using gestures, so when you're going back or swiping up, you always kind of feel that little dent from the screen protector. This one, you can't feel it. It is just like using the glass as nature intended it. And it's obviously IP68 water and dust resistant. You can go ahead and drown this in a bath or a swimming pool for half an hour at 1.5 meters. To be honest, I mean, that's the minimum you could do. You could probably take it deep diving and it would still be okay. Not that I recommend it. As far as other aspects of the phone, it's an aluminium frame all the way around. It's UFS 4.0 and it's USB 3.2 OTG slot. It's got a lovely accent on the power button. I like that. And again, I really like the design of this phone. The silver and the green pop really well. And that camera bump triangle is unique. And nowadays, in a world full of 100 different flagship phones, it's hard to be unique. So, as always, Huawei are trying to push boundaries. Now, this is actually the first P series device I've owned from Huawei. I've had the Mate series, but I've never had the P50 or P60. So to get the Pura 70 Ultra, yeah, it's been a really positive experience. And we're going to talk about the camera soon, and I have got a couple of comparisons between this and the X100 Ultra, so stay tuned for that. But I do need to talk about the software now. And get ready to tick it off your bingo card. Fucking Google. I just wish. Look, I make a living on Chinese ROMs. It's not actually a living, I've got a real job. But my hobby is based around importing Chinese ROM devices. That is nothing new to me. But Huawei is a different kettle of fish. You've got global ROM, you've got Chinese ROMs, then you've got Huawei. It is nigh on impossible to get the thing to work as you would expect out the box. You have to do workarounds for almost everything you're used to doing. And that's not me talking about Android Auto or smartwatch compatibility. That is simply watching a YouTube video. And the most frustrating thing is, if you go through Gspace or Gbox and log in through your Huawei account, I still cannot get Gboard to be the default keyboard. And the default keyboard, while it does have English letters, it still types in Chinese. It still has Chinese symbols all over it. And I don't like that. I really don't like that. Now, I mentioned there is a workaround. The micro G installation process takes about 10 to 15 minutes. I'll link the video from System Hacks in description. I've linked it before many times, and it does work. Once you've installed micro G correctly, you can log into the Google Play Store. You get all Google apps. You get maps, location tracking. You get all the stuff you would from a phone. I just wish you didn't have to do that workaround. But once you have done it, everything works just as normal. No Android Auto and no smartwatch compatibility other than the usual suspects, a Huawei watch, a Cospet watch, TicWatch. They'll connect just fine, as long as they're not Wear OS 4 or newer. And I've tried multiple times, numerous times, to use the native Huawei apps for maps, for messaging, phone calls, all that good stuff. But I'm just too brainwashed by Google. WhatsApp. I'm just too brainwashed. Google Maps, everything I know is just intuitive. Google Photos is another big one. Trying to get the photos off this using Google Photos was becoming a nightmare because I haven't done the micro G installation process. However, I could Bluetooth them to my device. So I Bluetoothed all the images you're going to see soon. And that actually wasn't too painful. It was a simple Bluetooth pairing. Now, when you can get YouTube working, or Netflix or Disney, the image you're going to see from the 6.78-inch screen is absolutely stunning. It's Quad HD Plus, obviously. It's 120 Hz, obviously. It's just buttery smooth. One thing the Huawei does have over the X100 Ultra is the display. While it's Quad HD Plus on the X100 Ultra, this is the latest and greatest, most efficient display on the market. And it shows that the 1 Hz all the way up to 120 is more efficient. But it's not a Snapdragon chip in here. As you know, it's a Kirin chip in here, which has its downfalls. If you can get games to work without using the micro G workaround, you're not going to get a steady 60 frames per second from Genshin Impact anytime soon. And you are going to feel a little bit of heat coming from the device. It does lack the efficiency of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and the Dimensity 9300. However, if you are not a hardcore gamer, which I doubt you are if you're looking at this phone, you're going to be just fine. What you are going to buy this phone for is the cameras. The videography, the photography is, it's Huawei. And it's why it's so bloody frustrating, because the cameras on this produce some of the best photos I've ever seen. I should say though that it can be hit or miss. I actually do rate the Vivo X100 Ultra camera system better than the Huawei. And for all the times I review videos and I've got my ranking system and points-based scoring system, and I talk about how the X100 Pro is the best camera system, there's always kind of Huawei standing in the corner saying, but what about us? And they're always there. And they're here now. But the Ultra from Vivo compared to the Ultra from Huawei, Vivo wins. And there's a couple of reasons. One, video. The video on the Vivo is consistently better, sharper, less stuttery. The lens changes are less jarring. And then portraits. I prefer the portraits on the Vivo. I prefer the Vivo camera app. I prefer the Zeiss T-Star coating. And then here's just two different images compared. One where Huawei wins and one where Vivo wins, in my opinion. So here's the one Huawei wins. I posted this the other day. It was a zoomed in flower shot from the Vivo X100 Ultra. Stunning. It's Zeiss natural lens it's using, or Zeiss natural style, and it looks amazing. Today, here's a photo taken from the Tele macro lens. So the zoom lens on this, which is 3.5 times optical, is also a macro lens. And yeah, here it is. That's what you can get from this device. A point to Huawei. However, not using the macro functionality and just using the zoom lens, here's the no ball game sign. I believe quite clearly the Vivo takes the win here. Sharper, bit more detail, and stable. The photo from the Huawei was centered, but the camera would not stay still. So telephoto wise, the gimbal stabilization Ultra obviously helps. The 200 megapixel zoom lens obviously helps as well. So there's a point for Vivo. I will be doing a full camera test between the Huawei, the Vivo and the Honor Magic 6 Ultimate and the Nubia Z60 Ultra. That'll drop in a few days. But in some scenarios, the Huawei is great. As an overall camera setup though, the Vivo wins. Now to finish off my first impressions, we have to talk about the price of the Huawei. Huawei is an expensive device. Had someone in the members chat saying that price is just too high, and I can't disagree. I just have to compare the Huawei to Apple and Samsung though. In the Chinese market, Huawei is king. So they price it to be in line with the S24 Ultra and the 15 Pro Max. The reason Vivo and Oppo and Honor sell so well in China though is because they offer cheaper prices. So the Vivo X100 Ultra for the half terabyte is about £970 on my store, Average Dad Tech store, check it out. But the Pura 70 Ultra is £1,300, £1,299 specifically. So an extra £300 for this over the X100 Ultra. And on my first impressions, this isn't a better phone. Software wise, camera wise, design wise maybe it is, but build quality, no. So I know this video will do well because Huawei videos do well. There is something about Huawei's that appeals to people's nature of wanting something they can't have. And I've mentioned this before. While you can absolutely have the Huawei, you can buy it from many stores, including mine. Because of the workarounds, because it's a Huawei, people are interested and people buy for that reason. It's a bit naughty. So, you know where I'm going with this? So, I will be doing my full review next week, and I'm sure it'll be positive. However, if you are not bothered about the micro G installation process, if you love the look of this design and the cameras are great, you know you can buy it from me, this exact device, £1,150. Yes, £150 off, and I can ship it next week. Now, it's been a busy week for mobile phones for me. I'm still getting caught up, and I have seen your comments. Tomorrow, I will be doing Vivo X100 Ultra versus the Vivo X100 Pro. In depth, 20 minutes long, every aspect of each device. Until then,